Welcome back to Work Energy Reflection Notes. I'm Angela Weiss, and over the last several episodes, we've been building a foundation. We explored readiness, release, and most recently, discovery. We spent some time here asking some questions, noticing patterns, taking some assessments. We've reflected on our experiences, reflected on what brings us joy, where our challenges are at, where our blind spots might be, what our least attractive qualities when we are under stress. But eventually, every discover leads to another question. Now what? What do I do with this? Because awareness alone does not create change. We know this. Understanding that landscape is important, but it isn't the destination. It's the beginning of navigation. Today, I'd like to talk about what we do with what we've discovered before we move to the next phase of our journey, which is about building. So, one of the easiest mistakes to make after learning something new about ourselves is believing we have to address everything immediately. So, maybe you recognize a habit or a strength, maybe a blind spot, or an old story you've been carrying. The temptation is to create a long improvement plan, an overhaul to your entire life. I've done it. Most of us have. But information isn't asking us to become someone else overnight. It's simply inviting us to make a better next decision. And this is where temporary goals become so valuable. Not life goals, not 5-year plans, temporary experiments that simply help us practice moving in a healthier direction. They're allowed to change and they're allowed to evolve. They're simply helping us aim our attention, a way of testing a direction before turning it into an identity. Instead of deciding, I am going to become this, what if we just asked what would happen if I explored this for 30 days? Temporary goals allow us to learn while moving. They help us gather additional information, and sometimes they reveal what we thought we wanted isn't actually what we need or what the circumstances require. So recently, I revisited my experience with the Mediterranean diet. Now, there was a period in my life where I was actively trying to lose weight. The Mediterranean diet appealed to me because you have variety, you have different regions, different flavor palettes, different combinations that you can use, and you have the freedom to move between them. It's not very restrictive in the sense that I'm not removing entire food groups and I'm not following this really restrictive regimen for this. It offered me the freedom to explore this. And while I was actively working toward a weight loss goal, these methods outlined in this approach became an important part of my routine. The goal was eventually achieved, and over time, the habit quietly disappeared. Not because it stopped working, and not because I disliked it, but the original reason for doing it simply no longer existed. The discovery in this wasn't that the Mediterranean diet was ineffective. The discovery was that I had tied the practice, this eating approach, to a temporary outcome. What I later realized was that this approach to eating offered benefits beyond weight loss: energy, nutrition, consistency. The discovery invited review, not because something was wrong, but because the circumstances had changed. So sometimes readiness requires us to revisit assumptions and questions that we have let go or released for whatever reason. So the reason I bring this up is because having goals has a place. Experiments have a place. But when you have found something that works for you, having a routine of review is also part of that. It's part of finding the next path, finding the next decision. And one of the things that discovery is one of the most useful things discovery reveals is our edges. So growth rarely happens in the middle of what we already know. Growth happens at the edge of our understanding, the edge of our comfort, of our current capabilities. Unfortunately, many of us interpret edges as evidence of failure or evidence of no talent. We encounter discomfort and we assume we are not ready. We encounter uncertainty and assume we should stop or that we should wait until better circumstances. But often the edge is simply where learning begins. And it's important to consider that not all edges mean the same thing. Some edges signal a need for recovery, and others signal an opportunity for growth. Discovery helps us identify the edge, and readiness is about determining and interpreting what the edge requires to move it. And I think of discovery like standing at the starting point of a trail system and reading the signs. It tells us where we are. Sometimes it gives us more information, like how the trail is, what we can expect, how long it is. It presents our choices. Eventually, we do have to choose a direction. Not because we're certain of which one we'll enjoy the most, but because movement requires intention. We don't have to know the whole journey. We simply need to aim what we've discovered towards the next faithful step. So when discovery reveals something important, I find it helpful to ask, what is this information inviting me to do? Sometimes the answer is build. A new skill, a new practice, maybe finding a new experience. Sometimes the answer is releasing an outdated belief or a commitment that no longer serves us, a habit maybe we've outgrown or forgotten. Sometimes the answer is to protect a boundary or a relationship, a source of recovery. And sometimes the answer is support. Maybe a mentor, a coach, a healthcare provider, or a trusted friend. So not every discovery requires the same response. But it does allow us to evaluate, allows us not to react, but to decide intentionally on what serves the need in current circumstances best. That's why our next phase is about build. Not because we're finished discovering. We'll always discover new things if we create a habit of noticing. Build is where we begin strengthening the capacities that support the life we're trying to live and create. We're no longer simply observing the landscape. We're beginning to shape it. We're beginning to move through and interact with it. In many ways, today's conversation is a bridge. Release creates space. Discovery helps us understand the landscape. Working with what we find helps us choose a direction. And next, we'll begin exploring build. Because once we have identified a direction worth pursuing, the question becomes, how do we intentionally develop the capacity needed to move toward it? So recently, I found myself thinking back to sitting beside the ocean. My husband and I took a trip in February, and I remember sitting there in the beginnings of creating these next steps. And I was watching the waves, and that has an interesting effect because it didn't remove any uncertainty about what I was getting ready to embark on. And they certainly don't answer questions, but it reminded me that movement doesn't always have to be hurried. Sometimes clarity comes because we've stopped trying to force it. Sometimes the next step appears after we've allowed ourselves to pause with the information that we have discovered, to sit with it, to feel it. So take a slow inhale through the nose. Pause briefly. Exhale gently. Again. And as you breathe, consider, what information have you gathered about yourself recently? And what might that information be inviting you to build, release, protect, maybe explore? What is one thing you've discovered about yourself that deserves direction instead of judgment? Not something to fix or something to criticize. Something to gently aim. Because discovery isn't the destination. It's the place where intentional movement begins. Next time, we'll begin exploring what it means to build the capacity we'll need before demand arrives. I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about this lately because with this endeavor, with this podcast, and with the other things that I am pursuing, I have had to learn a lot of new skills. How to create the podcast, how to use a microphone. I'm still learning, obviously, and that's where I am at in my journey. Building skills, building the infrastructure, building the system around what I'm trying to do. And that's where our next piece of this journey is going to meet up. So until then, keep exploring yourself with compassion and curiosity. Find your edges and allow your path to present itself.